Hormonal cycle alignment, a solution to burnout. I suspect you're all familiar with the term burnout, but are you as familiar with the term hormonal cycle alignment? Possibly not. And why is that? Because it's about periods, and that's not something we're very good at talking about. And now I've just said that, I guarantee there's at least one person here who's just thought, oh great, I talk about periods, something I don't even have. Maybe not. But maybe you do know someone who does have periods and is struggling with some of these challenges. Feeling tired or drained most of the time, helpless, trapped, defeated, detached or alone, having a cynical, negative outlook, self-doubt, procrastination, overwhelm. Well, according to Mental Health UK, these are some of the common signs of burnout. But interestingly, these are also some of the common signs of someone who is living out of alignment with their hormonal cycle. I hope by the end of this, you'll feel a little bit more comfortable just talking about periods. Hopefully you'll understand some of the challenges you experience throughout the month. And if you don't have periods, stick with me. You might learn something that could win you some brownie points later. I don't know about you, but my education on periods was very much the science, the anatomy, the biology lesson. I learnt enough to pass an exam, nothing more. I grew up with the belief that being hormonal was a bad thing. It meant moody and irritable. And that having a period was likened to that of a curse. But in reality, that curse is my superpower. Do you ever notice throughout the month that you experience fluctuations in your confidence, your energy levels, your ability to focus, your mindset, your social and communication skills, your memory, your clumsiness, your aptitude for starting new projects, and your aptitude for closing out existing projects? All of these sometimes significant fluctuations can all be related to our hormonal cycle. Wouldn't it be amazing to know which date in June you're going to feel full of energy, focused, confident? You're going to feel like maybe you could go and present a talk quite eloquently. Guess what? You can, simply by tracking your hormonal cycle. It's interesting when I talk to people about periods, whether they have them or not, they always focus on the negative, the moodiness, the irritability, the pain. But I encourage you to consider a mindset shift, to focus instead on the superpower. This is a superpower that has the opportunity to be a solution to burnout. Now, burnout is a term that's bandied about so much now. It first came about in the 1970s when American psychologist Herbert Freudenberger used it to describe the consequences of severe stress of doctors and nurses who were sacrificing themselves to help others. And that was even before the recent pandemic when we saw the harsh reality of burnout. I'd like to share a story with you of my experience of burnout. I didn't grow up with a particular vocation to be a doctor or a lawyer, and I would never have described myself as a career woman. But 10 years ago, everything in my life changed. I remember being sat on the floor of a London courtroom, unable to breathe through the tears, after my then husband had just been found guilty of sexually assaulting a woman on the London Underground. Now, the reason why I share this quite vulnerable story with you is because it left me at age 31, single, childless, and moving back to live with my parents. Now, as amazingly supportive as my parents were, I channeled everything into my work. I would work very long hours, and I blamed the global culture of my job for that. I would socialise with my colleagues out of hours, but everything revolved around work. As I said, I wasn't a career woman. This was my way of distracting me from dealing with what had happened, from filling a void, giving me a sense of purpose. And I started to notice a pattern. For 1 or 2 weeks, I would be full of energy, focused, productive, motivated. I'd be in the gym, the work gym, in the morning, and then I'd be hitting healthy salads for lunch and focusing on lots of productive work throughout the day, churning out documents, presentations. In the evenings, I'd socialise with colleagues, sometimes till the early morning. I mean, don't I look happy? For clarity, those shots aren't all for me, but then you're students, so what am I saying? But just 1 or 2 weeks later, everything would shift. I'd start to feel introverted. I would experience debilitating imposter syndrome, questioning whether I could even do my job. I would procrastinate the most simple tasks, and I would generally feel very low. I would struggle to maintain positive habits, turning to chocolate, pizza, anything for that short-term comfort. And more alcohol, but this time to give me the confidence that I was really lacking at that time. Despite these huge fluctuations, I felt an innate pressure to remain consistent, and so I kept pushing day after day. But it wasn't sustainable. I was getting ill, I was getting huge cold sores on my lips, I was gaining weight, and if I'm being completely honest, I wasn't doing my best work despite putting in all the hours. So for me, there wasn't a particular point at which I completely burnt out. But knowing what I know now and looking back, I can see that I was effectively burning out every single month. Maybe you can relate if you've been through trauma or a life-changing event that has resulted in you throwing yourself so much into something that it consumes you. Burnout doesn't just have to be about high-flying career women, but the workplace can be where it presents itself. At that time, I was seeing some amazing progress in closing of the gender gap in the workplace. Women taking their seat at the leadership table, stepping into partner CXO roles, the growth of women's networks. But at the same time, I was still seeing women who, like me, were struggling to remain consistent day after day. But when you break it down and you start to understand how much you change throughout the month, is it really any surprise that we're struggling? When researching the topic, I found some interesting data, and this really stuck with me, that women leaders are overworked and under-recognised, with 43% of women leaders burning out versus just 31% of men at the same level. If you've ever worked with a woman in leadership, you may have found that she was a little bit unpredictable. Maybe sometimes a bit difficult to work with, unwilling to collaborate sometimes. But in reality, she could have been working completely out of alignment with her hormonal cycle, where even the simplest of tasks could have been a challenge for her. And the worst thing, she may not have even realised it herself. I haven't always known how to track my cycles. It's something that I came across around 3 or 4 years ago when I read a book called Period Power by Maisie Hill. I would highly recommend it. Definitely a really good read, and God, do I wish I'd read it before. Gentlemen, did you even know you had a hormonal cycle? Well, let's take a look. Dr. Richard Quinton, who is a senior lecturer at Newcastle University, suggests that testosterone is not stored by the body, it is produced on demand. And so, at around 8 to 9 in the morning, it peaks and then it gradually declines throughout the day. So what does that look like on a typical day for you? Well, you wake up in the morning in your full glory, if you know what I mean. Yeah, you're still getting it, yeah. You're focused, productive, ready to get stuff done. as your testosterone levels start to drop, gradually a bit later on, you feel like more in the mood for a coffee meeting. Happy hour hits at 5 p.m. and you're in the bar, ready to start to chill. And then you head home to your cocoon to chill out and relax. So it's a 24-hour cycle, pretty straightforward, right? And that works so perfectly, conveniently, in alignment with the traditional workplace structure. In contrast, the cycle of someone with a period looks pretty different. There's a number of different hormones at play, and this is over 28 days-ish. Not one though, 28. And that goes across 4 very distinct phases. Now, a really easy way of looking at these 4 phases is like that of the 4 seasons of the year. So we start with the period, the phase that we all know well. And this is like winter, where it's cold outside, you want to wrap up cozy and eat comforting food. It's exactly the same. Your hormone levels are actually at their lowest at this time, so you may feel lethargic, you may feel a bit emotional, a bit low mood. I see some nodding. This is the time, not the time, to start new projects. This is not the time to go out and socialise and do networking events. And what have I done? I've focused on the negative. So let's just switch that about a bit. When you have your period, you have the most amazing heightened intuition. And so if you spend your time focusing on reflection, goal setting, you're going to be so productive. Let's have a look at spring. Spring, the sun is shining, the temperatures are starting to rise, as does your energy levels. You feel confident, you've got energy, you want to get stuff done. This is the time to start new projects. This is the time to do research, learn new skills. Then we go into summer. Summer is when we ovulate. So from a scientific perspective, when the egg is released, ready for fertilization. If you've ever watched the David Attenborough programs, you see the bird in mating season. It puffs itself up and does a little dance. That's exactly what it's like when you're in summer. You feel confident and capable. And you're going to do your best work by socializing and collaborating with other people. Then we're going to autumn, the last phase. And this is the 10 to 14 days before your period. And you gradually become more introverted. Yes, you might be moody. Yes, you might be self-critical. But this is the time when you're ready to tick off everything that's been on that to-do list all month but hasn't got done. You're in the right mindset to close down the cycle, to finish off all of the outstanding bits and pieces. And you'd be better placed to do this if you're working at home, alone probably, and in a comfortable environment if you can. Now we can minimise all of these negative impacts that some of this has on us by living more in alignment with our cycle. And this can be done in a number of ways. How you manage your to-do list, how you organise your diary, your social calendar, how you eat, how you exercise, how you have sex, how you practice self-care. You see, this is a real holistic view of well-being. Maybe you've been on a diet or you've tried a new exercise regime and you're just focusing on one element of your life. And I guarantee you're going hell for leather at it throughout the month, irrelevant of which phase you're in. I could put money on the fact that you might be able to do that for 1 or 2 months, but you're not going to get long-term results. It's a bit like swimming in the sea. You go swimming and you're pushing and pushing and you look up and you go, ah, that's what I was seeing 10 minutes ago. Because you're swimming into the tide. You're putting in all that effort, you're not getting anywhere. That's exactly what it's like for someone who is living out of alignment with their hormonal cycle. So if you have bad PMT or you're struggling to conceive, yes, aligning to your cycle can help you. But at the same time, if you have pain-free periods and you just want to be the best version of yourself, aligning to your cycle can help you. It can help you to have better careers, better relationships, and generally just live a more fulfilled life. So if you can get the clarity on your own cycle, start to live with confidence in alignment to it, you have the opportunity to prevent burnout. Now, just to wrap up my story, in case you're wondering, I now have an amazing partner and we have a beautiful daughter, and I live to the best of my ability in alignment with my cycle. I run a successful coaching business empowering women to do just this. I really hope this has opened your eyes to the superpower that either you have within you or someone you know. And if I've achieved two things today, it's one, for people just to feel more comfortable talking about periods. And two, for people with periods to start learning how to track their cycles. This is your opportunity to start swimming with the tide instead of against it.